Thanks, guys. Will, Hedreen et al. I'm going to start with 3 quotes. Protagonist has come to this place because he had no life back there at all. Reader's Block by David Markson. A pair of dice, twins, for the work of the wrist, and for finger exercises type all night and throw it away in the morning. What's the use of keeping it? It's out of you, and now you can see the fountain. Zero Readership, an epic by Philip Marinovich. The more I analyzed, the less I believed, and against my newly opened mind, there began to beat grotesque and horrible analogies based on superficial aspects and upon my experience beneath the earth. Before I knew it, I was uttering frenzied and disjointed words to myself. The Lurking Fear, H.P. Lovecraft. It has 7 parts. Number 1, morning. The idea is the blush of sunlight in me. I can't see out of my left eye with this sun. I can't see out of my left as well as my right. I drink black tea when I know I need energy. I drink peppermint tea when I need focus. I stop and let the plaque build up. There's no way to figure out irritable bowels. When I get on the train, there will be people, but just who will they be and why them? Why not some other people? Why not me times me? Nico Bellic is born into his South Bohan apartment one more time, pistol in hand, voices nearby yet separate. Nico Bellic completes his duty and jumps from a 6-story apartment building, breaking both legs. Nico Bellic gets shot to death by a SWAT team member on the 3rd floor of a crack den. She was a phantom of delight. Duh! When first she gleamed upon my sight. Duh! 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 A lovely apparition, sent. Duh! To be a moment's ornament. Da-da! 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 Each person with each other. Levels rely on different ideas. Segrin's remarkable intimacy as self and response, page 93. Consider multiple parts. Interactive intimacy is also the A-gates, where you go to see the mountain, where you go for silence. This is where people can be the best interpreters. This is where a person can read and not have to worry about focus. PC New Wave Cola, Power Horse Energy Cola, Kissed Cola, Stop and Shop Cola. In its range, its limits, limitations, solicitations, better you than me, I, clandestine glance to pry and rest in, land of shudder and removed from wonder, we have space, paste, the blank ace, where the black is best fit in, its hair wrapped as noose and fin, to settle down, beckon, throne, the town, the raked in, the frown, the flame beneath the door goes from black to brown. All I can do is shout to keep it down. Passage, bodies, they exist here like minions to last in the limits of perceptions. Percep, entity, we are just persons, anti-tyranny, from where it all starts to stem in. See, you can see the first contemplation, example and exemption, exemplified breath out to in, blanket of gout and flesh bin, set in and beautified, bereft in, cosmographied. 2. Tennis. Everything is separate, and one of us hits the ball back and forth over the net. It flies over to the other side where 2 others play their game, and it gets lost, all shuffling, and we lose the ball, lost to the court. And then later, after the game, we walk, slowly, weak, exhausted. Nico Bellic, in an effort to chase down a man and end his life, had his own life ended by a swarm of police with shotguns right outside the airport. Nico Bellic, after dropping his new contact off, goes home with his assault shotgun and rests for the next time he'll be needed. Nico Bellic is born into his South Bohan apartment one more time, and he knows this, and he makes the decision to shoot his television, and then he leaves the apartment. Her eyes as stars of twilight fair, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like twilight's too, her dusky hair, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But all things else about her drawn, da-da-da, from Maytime and the cheerful dawn, da. Interpret whether communication on attachment style is much different as a child stressful, struggles, a response, the intensity, our history to this day. The B gates. To travel into B means you are leaving quickly or you are trying to forget. The only bench in the entire airport. You can stretch here, you can purchase greeting cards, you can make the mad dash, you can arrive or wait endlessly for the lines to clear. RC Cola, Zevia Cola, Max Cola, American Cola. What in a word but in a lure? I heard what I was afraid of. I ruined, I shaped blue with my mouth. What to press with air, and there I was. All I can grip is what I'm scared to play. My skin, a chance, ruddy dismay, stone, wood, aura, air, flame, collapse, buildings, collections, metal trauma, rested, bested bone. Us, a scream in a distance, a lower tone. Part 3, bicycle ride. As I rode the perimeter of Seward Park, I spotted 2 senior citizens sitting. They were on a bench wearing matching hats. They each had binoculars in their hands. They put the binoculars up to their faces. What are they looking out at the lake for? I looked out briefly into Lake Washington. Young people out there on their watercraft. There were many different kinds of watercraft. I rode by and forgot the seniors. Nico Bellic doesn't die, he sleeps. He sleeps and he saves and he wakes, and for what? He wakes up again in his apartment and he doesn't know what to expect. Nico Bellic finishes the murder and escapes to the garage where they will never find him. A dancing shape, an image gay. Da-da-da, 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 to haunt, to startle, and waylay. Da-da-da-da, I saw her upon nearer view. Da-da, a spirit, yet a woman too. Da-da-da, perception, context in themselves, comparisons, and this theory, these socially, historically, actively, inactively, dictate what degree through communication I am much more positively, with a more intensively, remarkably different breadth, though it is not consistently enforced. The sea gates, no one goes here except those you don't talk to and see. There are the electronics, they do not exist except in word. The word is what you follow, the word is advisor. Sea is not that far off. Sea is deep and shallow at the same time. Time is one with space, but only here. Hannaford Cola, Sarsi Cola, Inca Cola, Jones Cola. In making this is mine. What is it you fear? You clear so soon. A pressure diving right inside. Sin glide. Click. The sound of ordinary rounds. Rest assured it is not just 4 and 4 and 4. Skip back to pace. The lore to be afraid. The lore to be drawn and drained. I emerged unscathed by raving about something we lowered, gave. Something else by focusing minutely. Wait. Gloom, doom remotely, faint. Part 4, lunch. To be like a fever, to take hold of, choke, keep hot. I finish my lunch and fill out my electronic timesheet. My mouth tastes like cheese and marinara and lamb. My fingers feel like frozen nodules in an ice cave. Maybe that's just the skin disease talking. I'm ready to stop writing again because the words, they are growing so fast in unison. They are all dying. This time he doesn't die. It's not even close, really. He gets chased by a SWAT team via helicopter and SUV. He has murdered the coke dealers. He has found the garage. They chase him no longer. He stops, rests, logs off. Nico Bellic, another chase, another motorbike, more paper, more saves, more close calls erased through a quitting of the game. Nico Bellic wakes up, his apartment, another day, another murder, or was it a stolen car? Her household motions light and free, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and steps of virgin liberty, da-da-da, a countenance in which did meet, ba-da, sweet records, promises as sweet, ba-da-da, another face, it is also important. Through perceptions, different types and styles of the perceptions intimately communicate with better approaches for the first time, and they start to go. The D-gates, things stretch. There is the magician, and his eyes are green and demurring. There is the purr of cheap art and plastic spastic printing. There is the Chili's that is never open. The cafe exists as novelty, and the duty-free shop of the airport, where so many ask to find, and how many are granted. Is this a long walk, or are we getting lazy? Diet Right Cola, Moxie Cola, Big Cola, ShopRite Cola, Hanson's Cola. No, what is it? This fear. Ask again as the words get slippery, as the glass hardens on the image. Slam to fingers, the definition of fear and the definition against fear. What is it? Ponder, enclosed spaces, pray. Number 5. The office. The reality is that I listen to music and wait. I wait for those moments during the day when I can put something in my mouth: food, sugar, coffee, tea, gum. Moments. We live by a collection of moments here, there. The desk is sticky with the residue of apples. Beyond the fructose, there is that smooth surface. Niko Bellic, successfully having gunned down the foes with a number of different arms, gets shot by the sneak who's waiting behind the truck. He takes a single shot to the chest when trying to end a strip club manager's life. He gets arrested when trying to finish off the same strip club manager. Niko Bellic wanted to take the helicopter, but when he arrived, he was met by a group of men wielding guns. He was shot several times in the head and didn't remember anything after that. A creature not too bright or good, ba-da, for human nature's daily food, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, for transient sorrow, simple wiles, ba-da, praise, blame, da, love, da, kisses, da, tears and smiles, da, da, da. Individuals require these forms to define the act cruelty and reject slowly with anti-intimacy, ultimately having time becoming intimate. The end gates for Alaska and traveling toward, forward, northward, northbound, going back home. Take the tram to these gates, go underground, smell your scents, believe in it, become separate. Shasta Cola, Sam's Cola, Patriots Choice Cola, Coca-Cola. So what is it really that you fear, and how do you go about fearing it? I could have sworn I saw that shadow begin to. I could have sworn, I could have swarmed, and then I could have swarmed that shadow had I could have been born at that shadow and shadowed. I could have shadowed to be shadowed. 6. Bedroom. Last night, they all had moonshine grins slickened. When I get sick of the maps on my walls, I move them on down. They take up the space where my eyes never go, never linger. For I am not a pause or a pausing person, for the maps are just pieces of paper, colors, lines, route numbers, names of places. Niko gets up, pulls out his gun, and shoots French Tom in the head, but there's another person in the bar packing. That man raises the shotgun, and Niko loads once more. Niko Bellic feels comfortable waking up in his apartment with a machine gun in his hand. Niko Bellic wakes up and has no idea how this has come to pass. He must be so tired of this. He wakes up so regularly here. And now, I see with my eye serene, the very pulse of the machine, a being breathing thoughtful breath, a traveler between life and death, different forms of emotionally hypothetical, non-definitive, established romantic periods before individual. The S-gates, no one but you, no one wants to go. These things we make for ourselves, more trams, more action, fast-paced but cleverly disconnected. There are the restaurants, there is the one bar. Nothing exists except the passenger traffic. Finding a friend is rare. Your friend will dispose of you. Pepsi Cola, Royal Crown Cola, Bubba Cola, a treat cola. It dawns on me I'm afraid, and by watching the films, I am making myself less afraid on the outside, when truly I am getting more afraid on the inside. Go to the water, infinity have you, ultimate possibilities have you. Go to the mountains and the paths dissipate. People get lost, never return, a language in itself, the hollowed confines of environments not yet shifted. 7. Computer. I dream, but I still must wait. I must wait for the download, for the rip, for the leak, for the drink. I must stretch out my limbs and gather. Unsentient, I must reach forward. I must let the air and its moisture pass in. I must prepare myself and think of you. Nico Bellic gets shot to death after stealing a cop car. He gets shot to death after shooting up a house of Irish drug dealers. Nico Bellic wakes up in his condo. Or is it I who wakes up in Nico's condo? Would Nico have woken up if I hadn't? Nico Bellic, such posture, you are ready. Nico Bellic, who is it that owns you? Who is it that is ready to bring you into life? The da reason, the da firm, the da temp, da it, da will, endurance, da foresight, da strength, da and skill, da a perfect woman nobly planned, da to warn, to comfort and command, da, and yet a spirit still and bright, da, with something of angelic light, da, to conclude, regardless of how the process still exists, life provides the relationship's identity and intimacy. Communication, bound to the actual, is expansive. Variations offer much to be the future, the food court, and all that was on the other side, the Olympics on sight, seeing in clarity, the rolling hills, so much fake lights. What is this echoing chamber? There are people, there is the need to feel comprised, there is the need to feel completed, stains in recycling bins, perpendicular precipice, the moaning in the back hallway. My Essentials Cola, Polar Cola, U.S. Cola. Is there a difference? What shake of the skin as the unknown crawls right on in, with no resolution, distance, heights, sitting, health, death. Footnotes. 7 footnotes. 1. Daily vibrating rhythms, in which the writer returns to confessionalism. The writer typically writes poetry on a daily basis. The selections read today, while some are gifts for other living persons, and some are just fragments from a whole, are his most recent. 2. The loading of Nico Bellic, in which the writer utilizes the landscape of Grand Theft Auto 4. At the time of this project, the writer was extremely involved in Grand Theft Auto 4, a console and computer video game that is somewhat dated, but can finally be run on the writer's new laptop. The game features the Croatian or Serbian or simply Balkan protagonist of these writings, Nico Bellic, who has immigrated into the United States and lives a life of crime, violence, and typically exaggerated success a la American Dream. The game itself features loading screens at these particular periods. When the game is first started, when Nico Bellic dies, or is arrested, or when he fails a mission and has to reload. 3. Bullets for Wordsworth, in which the writer assassinates time. The most historically reoccurring poetic out-of-history arch-nemesis to the writer is certainly the English romantic William Wordsworth, whose poetry is so easily dismantled, disarrayed, and disrupted through more contemporary revisionist processes. Bullets for Wordsworth is neither the first nor last attack from the writer to Wordsworth. The poem corrupted here was 1804's She Was a Phantom of Delight, chosen due to a recently failed romance. 4. Academic curse zone, in which the writer presents cut-ups from an undergraduate paper. The erasure source text was taken from a 2008 sociolinguistics paper titled The Existence of Intimate Communication, which the author does not remember writing at all, probably because he was on amphetamines the entire time. The erasing process was influenced by the electronic group Matmos, specifically their quite intimate album, The Civil War. Number 4, ghost narrations, in which the writer attempts the idea of obsession of place. These selections, subtitled Terminal Terminus, was taken from a Word document on the writer's desktop called My Worn Document, a failed novella written in January 2011. Terminal Terminus is based on the writer's experience working full-time in the SeaTac airport. 6, The Rhyme of Sugar, in which the writer arbitrarily identifies the cola industry. It is significantly harder to track down all the brands of generic cola in this country than one would hope. Wikipedia was a major resource, as was Amazon.com and the websites of all the grocery chains that the writer has lived near. And, oddest of all, a bunch of strange collector websites still hosted by angelfire.com. And finally, 7, Glimpsing the Walls, in which the writer attempts to love through obsession the most personal, concrete fears imaginable. The writer has always been afraid and will continue to be afraid. This piece was written focusing on those concrete fears in a single sitting while drinking Kentucky bourbon whiskey, watching the thriller film The Omen 2 on mute, and listening to doom metal. The constraints made it easy to write, but were highly distracting from the fears themselves. Thank you for listening.